Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Todd and Julie Chrisley feel unfairly targeted and ripped apart. Todd and Julie Chrisley feel unfairly targeted and ripped apart. The cum hasn't come to grips with their future. The Chrisley Knows Best alums still doesn't understand why they were given a harsh sentence. They're hoping that justice will prevail. Keep reading to learn more. Todd and Julie Chrisley justice will prevail. Insiders spoke to people about how Todd and Julie Chrisley feels about the shocking sentencing that had fans buzzing. Even those who weren't familiar with the reality stars suddenly had a lot to say. Following their fraud case sentencing, the alleged source told the outlet that the USA Network alums are doing about as good as you can imagine. Understandably, it hasn't been easy. Todd and Julie Chrisley are trying to stay positive during this time. However, they don't agree with the outcome. The two Christians are trying to lean on God during this difficult time. The couple doesn't blame themselves for what happened. They believe the court system is at fault. The judge already had a preconceived notion about Todd and Julie Chrisley. They feel that they've been ripped apart and targeted unfairly because they have a reality TV show. They've been really leaning into their faith to pull them through, the insider told People. That said, what happened to them was horrible, to be ripped apart in court the way they were. They feel they were targeted unfairly by the judge because he said to them multiple times, "Just because you're on TV doesn't mean you're going to get away with this." The couple also believes that the judge was making an example of them. Todd and Julie Chrisley want to appeal the sentencing. They're hoping that it will work in their favor. On November 22nd, the two were convicted of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and tax fraud. Julie Chrisley was found guilty of bank wire fraud. Chrisley Knows Best alum denied the charges. Todd and Julie Chrisley are maintaining their innocence during this time. They have denied the charges against them. At first, Todd and Julie Chrisley changed the date of their sentencing from October 6th to November 22nd, 2022. Now they hope to get an appeal before their prison sentence. Todd was sentenced to 12 years in prison and 16 months of probation. Julie Chrisley was sentenced to 7 years in prison and 16 months of probation. In addition, their former accountant, Peter Tarantino, will also serve 36 months in prison. He was found guilty of tax fraud and for filing a false tax return. Regardless, Todd and Julie Chrisley remain optimistic about their future. They continue to rely on their faith to get them through this. Do you agree that they've been unfairly targeted and ripped apart? Or, do you think they deserve the harsh punishment? Sound off below in the comment section. For years, Todd and Julie Chrisley presented themselves as the picture of Southern charm and family unity. Their hit reality show, Chrisley Knows Best, painted a glossy portrait of a well-dressed, quick-witted patriarch leading a glamorous clan through the trials of love, parenting, and life under the spotlight. But behind the laughs and one-liners that won them millions of fans, a much darker story was unfolding, one that would ultimately land them in prison cells, ripped apart from their family, and convinced they were victims of something far bigger than their own mistakes. Now, in the harsh stillness of incarceration, both Todd and Julie insist that they feel unfairly targeted by a system they believe made an example out of them. To their supporters, the couple are martyrs of fame, singled out because of their visibility, their Southern sass, and their refusal to bow quietly to authority. To their critics, however, the Chrisleys are symbols of hubris, arrogance, and the dangers of living too lavishly on borrowed money. But no matter which narrative one subscribes to, one thing remains undeniable. Todd and Julie Chrisley have been ripped apart, and the fallout has reshaped their family forever. The fall from Southern royalty. The Chrisleys' rise was swift and glittering. Viewers adored Todd's razor-sharp humor, his strict yet loving parenting style, and the picture-perfect homes that became backdrops for the family's antics. Julie, with her calm strength and ability to temper Todd's larger-than-life personality, balanced the show in a way that made her equally beloved. But fame comes at a price. Behind the cameras, prosecutors claim the Chrisleys were orchestrating a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, fabricating financial documents, and evading taxes while presenting themselves as icons of wealth and integrity. In 2022, a jury convicted them, and the reality TV darlings who once graced red carpets found themselves shackled and sentenced. Todd to 12 years, Julie to 7. From day one, Todd and Julie have maintained their innocence, arguing that they were set up by disgruntled former associates and punished more severely because of who they are. "We were targeted," Todd has reportedly told Confidants. "This wasn't about justice, it was about destroying us because of our name, our fame, and the way we lived our lives out loud. The agony of separation. Perhaps the harshest punishment of all is not the prison walls, but the distance between Todd and Julie themselves. After decades of marriage, of running a household, raising children, and even building a media empire side by side, the couple now live hundreds of miles apart in separate federal facilities. For Julie, who has always been the quiet anchor of the family, the separation has been crushing. She is said to spend hours writing letters to Todd, sometimes only to receive replies weeks later due to the delays of prison mail systems. Friends claim she often cries when she hears his voice on the phone, longing for the simple things they once shared. A morning coffee together, evenings on the porch, or even Todd's sarcastic commentary on the smallest of details. The separation cuts deep as well, though he hides it behind his signature sharp tongue. His children say he remains strong for Julie, assuring her that they'll get through this. But insiders reveal that his bravado slips away when he's alone. "It's like half of me is gone," Todd reportedly told a family friend. "They've taken my wife from me, and no matter how much time passes, it doesn't feel any easier." Children in the crossfire. Savannah Chrisley, their eldest daughter, has become the most vocal defender of her parents. She has taken custody of her younger brother Grayson and niece Chloe, effectively stepping into Julie's shoes. The young reality star has juggled raising children, launching a podcast, and waging a public campaign to prove her parents' innocence. Savannah insists that her parents are being treated unfairly by the prison system. She's highlighted reports of unsafe conditions, delayed medical treatments, and inhumane restrictions that she says are designed to break her parents' spirits. "They are not being treated like human beings," Savannah told fans in one emotional episode of her podcast. "My parents are strong, but this system is broken. They've been ripped apart, and it's killing them." Meanwhile, Lindsay Chrisley, Todd's estranged daughter from his first marriage, has walked a more complicated path. While she and her father had been on rocky terms for years, she too has expressed sorrow at the devastation prison has caused her family. "No matter our past, it hurts to see them like this," she admitted. A battle over image and legacy. What makes Todd and Julie's saga so compelling is their unwavering refusal to accept guilt. To this day, they insist they are victims of an overzealous justice system, a flawed trial, and a biased perception fueled by their fame. Supporters argue that other high-profile figures accused of financial crimes have faced lighter sentences, suggesting that the Chrisleys were punished not for their alleged crimes alone, but for the audacity of flaunting their wealth and success on television. "They wanted to make an example of Todd and Julie," one insider said. "The government doesn't like when you live too loudly." Critics, however, point to the evidence against them and argue that their downfall was inevitable. For every fan who sees them as victims, there's another who views them as hypocrites, preaching family values on camera while hiding financial deception off-screen. But regardless of perception, the Chrisleys' reality is the same. A marriage lived in letters and phone calls, a family fractured, and a reputation forever shadowed by scandal. The fight for redemption. Still, Todd and Julie refuse to surrender. Their legal team continues to push appeals, arguing for retrials, sentence reductions, and even public vindication. Supporters cling to the hope that one day, the Chrisleys will be reunited, not in letters and supervised calls, but back home with their children. Todd has framed their fight as one of faith. He has spoken about leaning on God, seeing prison as a test of endurance and belief. Julie echoes this sentiment, often reminding her children in letters to stay strong in faith and love. For their fans, this defiance and devotion are what make them root for the Chrisleys despite the scandal. In their eyes, the couple's refusal to give up is proof of their authenticity, their love, and perhaps their innocence. Ripped apart but not broken. The Chrisleys' story is one of contradictions, glamour and disgrace, family unity and bitter feuds, unwavering faith and shattering separation. They are a family who lived their lives under a microscope, and when the microscope turned against them, it magnified their downfall in excruciating detail. Today, Todd and Julie sit in separate prisons, ripped apart in the cruelest sense. But even from behind bars, they cling to each other through words, faith, and the hope of someday proving they were unfairly targeted. Whether that day will ever come remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: Todd and Julie Chrisley's saga is far from over. Their story continues to captivate, to divide, and to stir fierce debates about fame, justice, and the price of living in the public eye.